everyone, this is Dan Kocel with Core Music. In today's video, back by popular demand, we're going to bring back Jesse Hernandez. In the video that we did several videos ago, Jesse talked a little bit about how he got into percussion and how he has played in many different bands, different types of bands, playing different types of music. Today we're going to have Jesse actually talk a little bit about the congas and also give us a lesson on the congas. With that, why don't we get started by watching Jesse warm up a little bit, and then we'll get into his lesson.
Hey everybody, I'm going to show you guys the basic beats and basic hits that you can do out of the congas. Generally there's three sizes of congas. There's the quinto, which is the highest one. Actually there's another higher one, but the three basic ones are the quinto, the conga, which is this one, and the tumba or tumbaro. Right now I'm using the conga and the tumbaro, but I also have a quinto, and you can play all three of them. But for this reason, I'm just going to show the basic hits that you do if you want to be into congas. I want to stress to you guys that depending on the environment you're in, if you're in a loud environment or a nice quiet environment, you can get a lot of different sounds depending on the tone and the atmosphere of the music that you're playing. So I think the enjoyment I generally get is when it's nice and a quiet atmosphere where there's just maybe an acoustic guitar or real nice mellow music. And I'm not saying it has to be mellow, real mellow music, but I can do all kinds of different things where I can get different tones. So what they basically do when you're learning congas is learn the hits. There's a closed hit, and you can do it with your right or left hand, and it's just. And then there's also the open hit. Now that one is probably the one that people have to work on. It's kind of like a slap, though it's not really an open hit, and that gives you a higher tone. And I try to hit it in the middle of the drum. You could put your left hand on it to kind of muffle it a little bit, or you could hit it without it. It makes it louder. So you can hit that one, and what it is, it's just a jerking motion that you hit with your fingers. And a lot of people have trouble with that. And if you're playing in a nice, smooth atmosphere where it's not very noisy, you can do the side slap, which gives you a nice little pop. So I can do. But basically, you want to get your slaps closed hand, and you can also put your hand, your left hand or whatever, if you're right-handed or left-handed, to get your closed slaps and get a different tone there. Now you can position your hand wherever you want, you can get different sounds. So you can do your closed hands, or you can get your slap hands, or you can get your rim shots. So one of the basic beats I'm going to do for you is called I've learned through my time playing is Latin beats, and one of the very first beats I learned was called a guaguanco, which is derived from Cuba, and of course it's Afro-Cuban, and it goes like this. It's just a very simple beat. It's using both drums, and it just goes. It starts off like 1, 2, 3, 4. both open hits that are not slaps. So you got the close slap and or the close hit, and then you got the louder hit. So if you want to just do it with one drum, that's one way to practice if you only have one drum. When you have two, then you do the actual guaguanco. So it just starts off 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you notice I do a little extra hits in there to fill it up. As you progress, and as if you really like that beat, depending on what kind of music it actually is playing, you can get really fancy, or you can just stay really clean and just stay in the pocket, depending on what the music calls for. And a lot of times, a lot of groups that I work with, they like it a little bit more energy, so I always have little sounds in there. Again, though, if you're playing with a loud band, you're not going to be able to hear my, all you will hear is. So I recommend, if you're playing it with a loud band, make sure you can hear your drums, and hopefully you get a better monitor system or in-ears so you can hear yourself, but you want the crowd to hear it too in the main speakers. So I like playing both styles, but I prefer the nice quiet settings where I can do a nice little. That all derives from the simple. And that's called a guaguanco. Now, the two basic ones I'm going to show you was this one, the guaguanco, and then there's another one that's called a Tumba. It's also very popular in Latin music, and it's a little bit more complicated. You're going to be using your open close hand, and then you're going to hit the double hits, and there are different variations, but I'll show you a simple one. But it's just it's the way I would explain it is just having this motion on your left hand, which is heel toe heel toe heel toe. So you're getting a double open hit, and then a closed, and then a pop, while your hand is going left and right. Up and down on your heel toe. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I get a lot of questions of, it seems like my hand is doing the same thing, but yet I get the pop. It's really hard to explain, but the hit is completely different than this, and you hit it a lot faster, and it's got to be no rebound. You got to just take it out real fast. And this will muffle the sound and help you with the slap. So it's like 1, 2. Well, let's go slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the basic, what you do with one drum, and then when the variations call for a different drum, you can do the low drum, which is the tumbao, and you get a sound like this. Or you can do it, hit it one time and go. that's when you have 2 drums. I recommend, if you're just getting started, is getting your hits going, your heel toe, and just keep, with your left hand, just keep doing this. An exercise that I always do, it really helps, is doing your toe, heel on one hand, toe, heel, and then toe, heel on the other hand, and you just go, and you just alternate. And you just keep doing that. And as you get more and more relaxed with it, you can just, that'll really loosen up your wrists if you want to start playing more of the rock and roll version of congas, you know, but you can use it for almost any kind of music. But basically it's pretty much the standard in Latin music, which I say salsa music, of course Latin rock, nice little boleros where you can just do the simple bolero beat, which is so that's how, basically how you get your tones. You have to get your tones down. If you're just hitting anyway, you know, it's pretty sloppy. So the first thing is to do is just make sure you learn your different tones. So the basic ones that I can show you right now is the slap, the close hit, open hit, and then the heel toe. So I like to do it to get my wrists warmed up, which I didn't have a chance to do today. So when you do this, or you know, quite often, it really tends to loosen up your wrists and your hands, and it helps you speed up your playing if it requires that. And that's what I try to do with the heel, toe, heel, alternate, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel. Or you can do the different way with toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel. Just as a warm-up exercise for your wrists and your arm strength. When you want to do all kinds of once you use those 2 basic beats, which is probably mostly for Latin beats, but there's so many different variations of different beats you can do. I like all the different beats that are out there. I always experiment, and I always do different stuff with my drums, so you can do the same thing, and you just play, you know, what you feel, and you can come up with your own little beat. But it always starts off with some kind of variation of a basic beat, and then once you get really relaxed with everything, then you can start doing your solo stuff, you know, and as long as your band requires that, or something that you like to do. I mean, I've always wanted to, you know, do solos, you know. I don't mind, you know, staying in the pocket and playing, but during the course of an evening, sometimes I just like to let loose, you know, just depending on what song it is, and just do my thing, you know, just. So you can do that with your hands like you can do with drums. You know, you get the same kind of rolls with your drums. The only difference is you're going to get different sounds when you play with your hands when you're doing the congas. Bongos are the small ones. It's a little bit different because bongos are pretty much as a ride. It's riding. It's just boom, boom. But there are variations of bongos sounds you can do too. But it's basically it usually rides with the song, just like a cymbal when you're playing drums. You know, you just and it just adds a lot more color to the music that you're playing. Not to say you can't do what you're doing with congas on bongos, because you know you can, but it's basically a use to to color more of the music more, and it's also another great instrument. Unfortunately, I didn't bring my bongos, but basically, of course, time is everything. You got to keep time when you're playing drums or you're playing any kind of instrument. You know, so main thing is just practice your timing. You know, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, got the heel toe, you got the open, the slap, and you got the rim shot. If you put your hands in different positions, you get different sounds. Which really kicks when you're playing nice, an acoustic area where everything is nice and quiet, and it just fills up the room real nice. But it's basically the things that I could demonstrate tonight. You know, the two Latin beats. It's called, again, guaguanco, which is the very first one I learned, and then there's a Tumba, which there's a lot of different variations, but it's basically so if you ever listen to any kind of Latin music, you will generally hear that beat almost on a lot, 90% of the music that has a Latin groove to it. But then there's a lot more different other beats. So you got the one that's a little bit harder. When you hear the merengue music, a lot of times it's beats like that. There's some that just get really more requires more effort and practice that maybe we'll get into the next chapter. But anyway, I hope this helps. Just, you know, practice, get your slaps down. This is probably the hardest one, but once you get it, everything else falls into place.
Well, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed that lesson with Jesse. Jesse is a perfectionist. I've heard him so many times with many different bands, and he is an excellent performer. He's also a great teacher because he's been doing it for such a long time, and it's his passion. So we're going to get him back down the road here. We'll talk a little bit more about the cahon and the bongos. For those of you who are interested in percussion and would like to learn a little bit about those instruments, I mean, those are probably you know, instruments that you can pick up relatively a low price somewhere, and you know, at least learn to get those beats down and get the rhythm going and learning how to keep time. One favor again, please go down to the bottom down below here and hit the subscribe button and the like button. And I appreciate that very much when you do that, because it helps me out down the road. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.